Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Roxy and this is my YouTube channel where I plan on documenting my journey with long COVID, lots of neurological symptoms that I have as a result of COVID, autism and mental health. I thought I'd start this video talking about my experience of dissociation after getting COVID 4 years ago. I thought I'd start here because in hindsight this was the first symptom that indicated something had gone wrong in my brain after getting COVID. The rest of my symptoms came with a bit of delay, but this symptom was the first. I was keeping a diary. I've been keeping a diary my entire life. I have a timeline of when things happened at which point in my COVID journey. I also started keeping a symptom diary separate to my personal diary, and so I have quite a lot of symptoms documented. It's been actually very helpful to figure out when things started for me. But dissociation was the first symptom. I didn't know it at the time because I didn't know what dissociation was. But now that I know what dissociation is, I know that what I was experiencing was in fact dissociation. I was my most healthiest and happiest mentally and physically I'd ever been before I got COVID. I had just been diagnosed with autism 6 months prior. I was diagnosed with autism in the January of 2022 and it saved my life. And I was really, really happy and I was really, really excited for where life was going to take me. I was due to leave hospital in July 2022. I turned 28 years old in June 2022 and got COVID 1 month later. I had never had COVID before this, and I'm certain of this because I was testing myself very, very, very regularly. And so I know that I never had COVID before this infection. I was also wearing a mask and gloves everywhere until I got my COVID infection. I was one of very few people at that point on the high street who was still wearing a mask and gloves. But I was terrified of COVID, admittedly. I was so scared. And ironically, I was never scared of what was going to happen to me. It never once crossed my mind what would happen to me if I got really sick from COVID. My fear was always, I'm scared to get COVID in case I give it to someone who I was living with and then they would get sick and get really ill. And I was petrified of that. I didn't want to make anyone else sick. And so I did everything I could to protect myself and to protect other people by wearing a mask and gloves at that point until I got COVID. I got COVID and I was fine. I was completely fine. I've honestly had worse colds in my life. I had just the general cold-like symptoms, aching muscles, fatigue, sniffling nose, coughing, and that was it. I was just run down. I had had worse colds and I was sick for less than 1 day. I woke up the next day and I was fine, and I couldn't believe that I was fine. And I kept testing myself each day, waking up, testing myself again, because I couldn't believe that this was the COVID that I had. Each test was more and more positive for COVID, and yet I was feeling more and more well. And I was really confused, but extremely grateful because I know so many people had died and so many people got so sick from COVID. And I thought how lucky I am and how grateful I am to get away with it so easily, or so I thought. I remember feeling guilty because I thought, oh, so many people have died and so many people have got really sick and have got long COVID and I'm fine. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to hit me. It was around day 4 or 5 that I lost my sense of smell and taste, and then it returned after a few days, and then that was it. I was completely fine. But I started to become very mentally fragile for no reason. Up until this point, I was extremely excited to leave hospital and really mentally well and very physically well. I was exercising a lot, I was eating a lot, I felt really strong, I felt really fit, I felt very healthy mentally and physically. And yet, for some reason, around a week later, I just wasn't really okay anymore. I was extremely, extremely anxious. I felt very panicky. I needed a lot of reassurance. My thoughts were racing, and I just generally felt quite detached. At the time, I didn't know that that was dissociation, that the sense of detachment I had from everything around me was dissociation, but I wasn't experiencing dissociation before I got COVID, and I hadn't done for some time. But after my COVID infection, I was experiencing dissociation. I thought I'd talk a bit about what dissociation is from my experience, because we all experience dissociation in different ways. But for me, I experienced dissociation as the world not feeling real and the people around me not feeling real. And at times I don't feel real. I can't really talk about dissociation in too much detail because it makes me question my own reality and question my own sanity. And so I will only briefly explain what it is or how I experienced it. It felt like everyone around me were actors on a stage, and I felt extremely detached from everything and everyone around me. I became very mentally fragile very quickly, and in all honesty, it's the first time in my life where I kept telling everybody that I felt like I genuinely lost my mind in a very, very literal sense. And thankfully, I can't actually remember how that was feeling now that I think back to it. But at the time, it was very terrifying. I've actually been experiencing dissociation my entire life, and I'd spent a good 10 years in the mental health system describing my symptoms of dissociation to various mental health professionals. I didn't know it was dissociation that I was describing, and for some reason, they didn't know that that's what it was either, and so it was never actually recognised until I got COVID. I didn't dissociate for 10 years straight. I was dissociating on and off for 10 years, but never to this severity of what happened to me when I got COVID. The dissociation I got from COVID started almost immediately, but it got a lot worse because of my own mental health struggles. I know that this was the case because I kept a diary and I was documenting my symptoms, and I was also keeping a personal diary, and so I have quite a good timeline of when symptoms started. But my dissociation got more severe due to my own struggles with my mental health. Thankfully for me, it only lasted 5 months. I say 5 months, thankfully, because I've read a lot in the longcovid community that lots of people are struggling with dissociation for 12 to 18 months plus. And it was such an awful and such a dark time in my life. I can't ever imagine experiencing it to such an extent as 12 to 18 months straight. For me, 5 months was enough to make me feel like I lost my mind. Thankfully, it never returned. I can't tell you what I did to make it go away because I didn't do anything to make it go away. Sometimes, what I've learnt, sometimes things just go away by themselves, and I don't know why and I don't know how, but I didn't do anything to make my dissociation go away. I tried to use grounding techniques, as they say, but it never worked for me, ever. And no matter how hard I was trying to use these techniques to help with the dissociation, it never worked and I wasn't able to do it. But the dissociation went away around November, December of 2022. It just gradually went away by itself and it never returned. And I'm really glad about that because I don't know what I'd do if it returned again. I don't know how I'd manage. I had other symptoms that went away by themselves in a similar way. I used to have a symptom where overnight I woke up and my body was moving right to left, left to right, constantly by itself, non-stop, all day, every day. And this lasted around 2.5 days. And then it never returned and it went away by itself. Or I had a symptom where I had severe muscle spasms, non-stop, for several months, and then that went away by itself. So I guess I'll just say that if you're experiencing dissociation and you feel like it will never end, because that's what I was feeling at least. I thought the dissociation would never end and I'd never get back into my body and I'd never be the same again. But it did end. So if you're experiencing it, just know that you're not alone and you're not the only one who is going through this. And I hope for you that it goes away as well. And I'm sure it will go away. It might just take a lot of time. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a health professional and I'm not trained, so I can't tell you what to do to make it better. I can only share my own experiences so that you know you're not alone. And sometimes that can really help. I know I felt very alone when I was going through it. And I can't think of my words. And this is what happens to me when I talk. Words just go through my head. COVID brain. If you are experiencing symptoms of dissociation, then I urge you to reach out for help. Speak to your doctor or mental health professional if you see one, and describe to them what you're experiencing. And I hope they're able to recognise it, and I hope they're able to look into how to help you. And I hope that they are open-minded enough to question if this is stemmed from a virus. I guess I'm talking about dissociation in relation to long COVID because it genuinely worries me how many people there might be right now who are experiencing dissociation or other mental health symptoms such as psychosis or OCD or depression or severe anxiety or seizures or tics or any other neurological symptom who are living in psychiatric hospitals at the moment. And I'm not sure if doctors are asking or questioning whether or not their symptoms could be caused by a virus and not by a psychological reason or their upbringing or their childhood. I wish for more doctors and mental health professionals to see things from a different point of view and to be open-minded enough to question if a virus could have caused this, or if their patient has ever been bitten by a tick, and maybe their cause of the psychiatric symptoms is due to Lyme. Or maybe has their patient ever lived somewhere where there could be mould? Or have they ever eaten mouldy food? Do they drink a lot of coffee? Coffee, or most coffee, is very high in mould. But I'm not sure how many doctors are actually asking these questions or how much they know about this. And I guess that's why I'm talking about what I went through, because I was very lucky that actually the doctors that were working with me at the time were open-minded enough to question if there could be an organic cause to my symptoms. But I know not everybody felt that way. I guess I'm talking about my symptoms and my dissociation in relation to long COVID because I want more people to be thinking about this, especially in recent years where there's been very high levels of infection and lots of other contributing factors that could be affecting people's mental and physical health, such as things that a lot of people went through in 2021 and the things that happened in 2021 specifically that could have impacted a change in someone's mental and physical health. If you know what I mean. I guess the first thing doctors or psychiatrists ask, at least in my experience, is they ask about my childhood, or they ask about my upbringing, or they ask me about who bullied me at school, or who treated me badly for me to be feeling this way. Which is great. These things can impact somebody's mental health, but there are also other factors and environmental toxins that can impact somebody's mental health, such as mould or virus. And so I hope that someone out there, if someone's actually watching this video, I don't know if anyone is actually watching these videos, but somewhere along the line, if someone is actually watching these videos, and maybe they work in a psychiatric hospital, I hope it makes them see things from a different point of view, and maybe they question their patient's presentation and what other things that could be impacting the presentation, such as dissociation and OCD. I also want to say that I hope that you reach out for help and support if you're experiencing symptoms of poor mental health or dissociation. I hope that you find doctors or therapists or anybody else in your life, whether that's a family or friend or someone you trust, who can help support you or help get you the right support that you might need for the symptom. I know I was very lucky in that when I got COVID, I did have some people around me who were safe and who were trustworthy, who I could speak to when I was feeling scared and alone and very frightened. And I'm very, very grateful for all the reassurance and time that they gave me during one of the worst periods of my entire life. And if you don't have anyone in your life who you can talk to about this or get support from, I hope you can reach out to charities or helplines. There is always someone out there who can listen to you and who might be able to help, or they might be able to advise you on what to do. But know that you're never alone, and there'll always be someone out there who will listen to you and who cares about you. And dissociation can be very frightening. And I know for my own self, when I was going through it, I needed a lot of help. I needed a lot of reassurance. And I never thought I'd be okay again. But I got through it. So if you are going through it, know that it can eventually end. No matter how bad something might feel right now, it will eventually end. But until it ends, I hope you be kind to yourself, and I hope you go really gently with yourself. And I hope you do get the support that you need, because you deserve to. And I hope you know that I believe you. When I was very sick, and still even now, all I wanted was someone to believe me. I wanted someone to believe me and take me seriously. And so know that I believe you. I believe you, whatever you're experiencing in your mental or physical health in the last few years. I believe you if you believe it's come from COVID. And I think in life, when you go through something very traumatic or go through something very difficult, one of the most important things is for somebody just to believe you. So know that I believe you and you're not alone. I just thought I'd also talk about quickly in this video symptoms of hair loss, because this was another symptom that happened to me very early on. I had COVID in July 2022, and my hair loss started in the September of 2022. There was a slight delay, but I remember sitting in a therapy session and running my hand through my hair. Huge strands were coming out all at once. I wasn't too concerned because I'd heard that this is common after getting COVID, and I had had COVID in the July. So around 2 months later, when the hair loss started, I was pretty sure that this had stemmed from COVID. Thankfully, the hair shedding stopped and my hair did grow back. My hair is quite thin at the moment, for me at least, because of other health issues I now have and not because of the COVID infection. But the hair did initially grow back, and the thickness did grow back. My other symptom that I did experience very, very early on, around a month after my COVID infection, was rashes. I experienced rashes a month after I got COVID, but I didn't know why it was happening at the time, and I didn't know what was causing it. But I now know that this was a symptom of MCAS, and that happened a month after my COVID infection. I think that's all I'm going to talk about in this video today. I have lots more to say about lots of other symptoms, seizures being my main one, dystonia, tics, brain fog, issues with my speech, my walking, memory, personality changes. The list is endless. So if you'd like to hear more about this, then feel free to subscribe. I'm talking a little bit strange now, a little bit more robotic than earlier, because I feel like I might have a seizure. And this is just my reality, and that's why I'm going to continue filming, and I have continued to film, because I want people to see the reality of what COVID can do to someone. And not just COVID, but any virus can do this to people. It's a very sensitive subject, and people have lots of very strong opinions about it. And that's why I say not just COVID, because any virus can do this. Any virus can inflame your brain. Any virus can cause ME/CFS. I don't have ME/CFS, but I know lots of people do get ME/CFS after COVID. I have experienced quite bad fatigue, and I have very little energy in recent months. But this is what can happen to people after getting a cold, or a virus, or an infection, or COVID in my case. I feel very seisurey, and I feel quite out of it, and usually before I have a seizure, it's hard to think, and it's hard to talk, and I can sound quite robotic in the way that I'm speaking now. I don't normally talk this robotic and slow. So I'm going to end the video here because I'm probably going to have a seizure. And I hope to see you in another video. Bye.